Hi guys, and welcome back to Reads Readers with your host, Clinton Reed. And I just realized that my spotlight's not on. Yay! And I'm going to tilt you just slightly that way, thank you. But as you see the title of this video, this is my favorite books of all time. Excuse me. Did not mean to burp there. That was really weird. These are my top 15 books of all time. I had a top 10. And then some got knocked off while others got put on because of various reasons. And then I have some honoraries. So my brain was like, let's just do 15 for shits and giggles. So comment down below if you guys can guess my top 15 books of all time. And if you can tell me what my top 5 books are, we shall see. So let me give you a few minutes. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Alrighty, let's get into this. In number 15 spot is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book follows Addie LaRue as she makes a deal with a demon to live forever. But the curse to that is nobody will ever remember her. The minute someone turns their back or stops looking at her, they forget her altogether. And it just follows her life with that curse until she meets a boy who remembers her. The atmosphere of this just pulled me in. It was my first V.E. Schwab book. I am obsessed and want to read more. I apologize if you can hear noise in the living room. In number 14 is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. A controversial pick, but hey. This book, when I first read it, I had never seen a character who wrote fan fiction before, because this follows Kath, who is a Simon Snow fanatic, and she writes fan fiction about Simon Snow. Simon Snow in this world, to me, is like Harry Potter, but better. Gayer. Which the book she writes in this is Carry On. So, I should really put these together. I still need to read the sequel, which is Wayward Son, and then the other one. Carry On, my Wayward Son. And then Anyway the Wind Blows. It was like, I know I seen it somewhere. I know, don't fall please. I pulled a book from up here for a different video. But yes, this follows Kath as her first time going to college, where Kath and Rin who are twins, learn what it's like to be at college, and Kath meets a boy and gets a boyfriend, and things that go on from there. It has been years since I've read this. I feel like I need to reread this and see if it still stays my fave, but I'm scared it will ruin it for me. But this is one of the few Rainbow Rowell things, this and Carry On, that I'll forever keep because of the meanings behind these that are to me. In 13th spot goes to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This follows the life of Evelyn Hugo, who is telling her story to a reporter named Monique, and told her, "You get to know my entire story, but you get to decide what to do with it after I die." And this is all about her 7 husbands and who she truly loved. I'm not going to go into detail about some of these because these are all like super popular books. Some of them are. And I have talked about some of these on my channel. I don't know how many times. So, in 12th spot, we have The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is my favorite childhood classic, or my favorite like literary classic now, besides Frankenstein. Outsiders takes place in Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. This is the story of Ponyboy and Stay Gold. Just the story of being a hero and the true meaning of you are not where you come from. And I cried so fucking hard at this. My first year on BookTube is when I read that for the first time, and it has stuck to this since. And in 11th place, we have to give it to A Little Bit Country by Brian D. Kennedy, which just recently came out. When did it come out? Was it May? Does this say? Nope, it just says 2022. This follows 2 boys. Emmett, who wants to be country's biggest gay music star, and Luke, who they meet at a Dollywood-inspired amusement park and then fall in love. This is literally a love letter to country music, to queerness, to everything I hold dear. And I love it. So I think it goes without saying, you should read all of these books. And also, I know I forgot to preface this beforehand. Yes, I understand. These lists are a little white. I do plan on reading more. I am starting to come aware that I don't read a lot of people of color like I should. So we are slowly integrating that into a project. And we're going to see if I can't find some new favorites by people of color. That is in the works, guys. Now let's get to my top 10. And in 10th place is Never Been Kissed by Timothy Janovsky. Janovsky? I can't pronounce. This follows Roland, who has never been kissed, and every time he has had an almost moment, he writes an email addressing it, professing all of his feelings, like, oh my god, I wish we would have done this, blah, blah, blah. And one night he gets drunk and decides to send them. Never thinking he would get a reply from one, being Derek, who was his first ever crush. And he's going home for the summer to work at a movie theater. Blah. A drive-in theater, where Derek is going to be working social media at. This is the story of them trying to save the drive-in theater and fall in love. This was one of the cutest ever books, and it like touches me in a soul, and something about this book just keeps pulling me back to it and back to it and back to it. And this will be in my top 10 favorite books of the year, at least. Now that it's on my favorite books of all time, it will definitely be on that list. So I highly recommend you check out this amazing debut novel, and I cannot wait to read more from this author in the future. Next, this author being on this list is no shock, but is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is my favorite standalone by Alice. This follows Georgia as she discovers and comes to terms with being asexual and aromantic. Past that, just read it. I don't like telling a lot about a book because I feel like you should go into it a little bit blind. You should just get key words and then go into it. So, read it. And in 8th place, we have How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather. If you would have seen my favorite authors of all time list, you should go back and watch that, because that'll explain why this is on this list. That's all I'm going to say. Read it. Also, Adriana Mather was our first ever Seasonathon author that came on and let us interview. Just wanted to put that out there. In 7th place, we have Boyfriend Material. Yes, I understand that both of these are starts to series, but Boyfriend Material may leave this list to go to the series list. Just depends on how Husband Material goes, and then the final one that's coming after that. But this book follows Luke and Oliver, who this got fake dating. They both need a date to prove that they're not who they say they are. Luke needs someone to prove that he's not the bad boy, and Oliver needs a date to his sister's wedding. It's all about them falling in love, and everybody who knows me knows how much this book means to me, and I am super excited for the sequel, Husband Material. I am rereading this, matter of fact, this week as well, in preparation for Husband Material's release next month. I am excited. In 6th place, can you guess what's number 6? The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. Anyone who knows me knows this actually used to be one of my favorite books of all time. This used to be in my top 3 favorite books of all time. Kind of got booted down a little bit, but this book is all about Dill, Travis, and Lydia. Yes, in a small town in Tennessee. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's read it. And anyone who read it with us for Summertime Reads last year and was there for the author, I do highly appreciate that. And it was one of the first books that I ever tabbed some of my favorite scenes and quotes. Oh, this book is just so good. If you want a book that'll make you cry, really good book. Now let's get to top 5. My number 5th book is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. When I tell you, I ugly cried so hard listening to the audiobook in a grocery store to the point where the lady behind the counter asked if she needed to call the cops and if I was getting beat by my significant other. A little embarrassed by that part, but This is the story of Achilles and Patroclus retold by Madeline Miller to show the actual relationship between them. So all I'm going to say is go into it. I know it's not going to be everybody's favorite. It's mine because Achilles and Patroclus have always meant something very important to me. So I was so happy to read this. We actually have 4 copies currently in this house of this book. And I just love it so much. And in number 4's spot goes Book Boyfriend by Chris Ripper. Now, Chris is a non-binary author who goes by Z-Zer pronouns. I'm still trying to learn how to use those, but it's a learning curve for us all. This book follows P.K. Preston P.K. Harrington, who is in love with his best friend, Art, who is never mind, who they've been friends for years. And Preston ends up writing a book about his love for his best friend and ends up getting it published. And then his best friend happens to read the advanced copy, says it's his favorite book of all time, and he doesn't know how to tell him that the book is about him because he's awkward. I have never been seen so hardcore by a main character of a book before. Like, I'm reading this, something keeps pulling me back to this. This is my favorite book of 2022 right now. This is one of my top 4 favorite books of all time. I can't not keep coming back to this. So I will highly recommend this book to everybody. It may not be your cup of tea because it hit me a little different than it would probably most people, but I cannot wait to read more from Chris Ripper in the future to see if Chris will become an auto-buy author or if Book Boyfriend is just a fluke. Absolutely love this. Now, before we go into the top 3, can you guess what my top 3 books are? I talk about all 3 of these books a lot. You guys know they're my faves. Let's just get into it. And in number 3's spot goes Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Do I need to tell you what this is about? This follows Alex Claremont Diaz and Prince Harry of Wales. Alex is the first son of the President of the United States, and it's all about their relationship. I cannot wait for the movie. And I tell you, I've read this book pretty sure I've read this book 7 times already since it came out in 2019. I think the first year alone I read it 4 or 5 times. Was it 2019? Yep, 2019. And I know I read it 3 or 4 times before it came out. Yeah. So this is the quintessential rom-com book that got me into queer rom-coms. So will always have a place in my heart. And yeah. And then number 2 goes to The Brave by James Bird. This book follows Colin, who is a boy. I want to say he's on the autism spectrum. I don't remember exactly what he has, but what it's called. But he has a unique condition where every time you say something to him, he has to count every single letter in the words that you say. He has to count every last one, say that number back to you before he can respond. And this gets him into a lot of trouble, and he ends up getting expelled from another school because of it. So his dad decides to send him to his mother on a reservation. On the Ojibwe reservation. And this is where he also meets a girl named Orinda who is wheelchair bound and lives in her treehouse, and she thinks she's turning into a butterfly. The synopsis is completely ridiculous, but this is one of the greatest books I have ever read. There's a letter in here that had me bawling for hours on end. I just think this is a middle grade that everybody needs to read and appreciate. This needs to be required reading for schools. I just read it. And can you guess what my number one book is? Can you guess who it's by? What author have you not seen on this list yet, but should be? And that goes to Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. This follows Wallace? Yes. Wallace, who's a man who did not live the best life possible, who passes away and is led to this tea shop by his Grim Reaper, where he is to learn to accept his circumstances. And he meets Hugo, the owner of the particular tea shop, and it's all about their love story and so much more. Basically, this book has been just summed up as a guy falls in love with his ferryman. But it's so much more. And I don't want to say, if you haven't read it, don't want to give it away, but if you've read it, you understand what I mean by it so much more. But yeah, so that is my favorite book of all time. I'm not going to explain why, because if you've read it, you understand. If you haven't read it, read it, and you'll understand. Those are the top 15 books, my favorites of all time. Did you get these right? Comment down below. Have you read any of these? Comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Are there any on here you haven't read that you feel like you need to read now? Comment that down below as well. Would love to hear your thoughts on all of the books. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you're new, you might as well hit the subscribe and go back and watch my favorite authors video. And then stay tuned for my favorite series of all time. These videos may come in handy for the future. I thought these videos would be a good idea to do because I want to see in a couple of years if these are still my favorite books, my favorite authors, or who has been removed and who is still on there. I want to check it out. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Remember, kids, always be fabulously yourself. And until next time, bye. Boop.